I should have known better. You can't just get a life. 6 years earlier, Melissa and I had tried to do exactly that by moving to the island of Nantucket, 24 miles off the New England coast. We'd grown tired of living and working around big cities. We wanted more time with our children and with each other. And besides, back then we had both hoped to sail again. Perhaps on Nantucket, once the mothership of American whaling, we could create an environment for our children in which we were all, figuratively, if not literally, in the same boat. But it didn't start out the way we had planned. Melissa soon found that life as an attorney on a real estate-obsessed island was as demanding as it had been in the city. For my part, being a housebound writer and parent on relatively tiny Nantucket was even more claustrophobic than it had been in the suburb we had previously called home. An island is a tough place to be landlocked. But there was more to it than that. Something dark and disturbing would occasionally punch through the surface, reveal just a hint of its massive, lugubrious bulk, then vanish again, only to reappear at the strangest of times. I began to sense that something weird, huge, and scary was, well, out there. And then one February afternoon, I saw it, a whale. It had been back in the days when Ethan still fit comfortably on my shoulders. We were on one of our daily walks along the south shore of the island when the kids and I found ourselves on a bluff overlooking a winter beach and a crowd of people clustered around the black, lifeless shape of a young humpback, less than 20 feet long. In her death spasms, she'd vomited her stomach lining, and the placenta-like mess floated in the waves beside her. Two men with clipboards and waiters measured the carcass and took notes. Children clambered over the whale's smooth, rubbery body, bouncing on her upturned belly as if she were a trampoline. That February afternoon, with my daughter beside me and my son perched on my shoulders, I first realized that it was time for a change. Like that youthful whale, I was stranded. At some point, I would have to return to the sea. By the spring of 1992, I was working on a history of Nantucket that gave me a renewed appreciation for the island's maritime traditions. And even before I'd made that America's Cup-induced resolution to get back into serious racing, I found myself making another sailing-related commitment. I had agreed to run the sailing program at the Nantucket Yacht Club. I'd always assumed my days as a sailing instructor were behind me, but Jenny and Ethan were growing up, and as a seasonal position, the job dovetailed nicely with my life as a writer. That summer, Melissa and the kids were given the opportunity to race a borrowed beetle cat, known as a rainbow, on Nantucket, the same kind of boat in which Melissa and I had had our first date. Although I was happy for them, it was also frustrating. As they won an impressive number of blue first-place flags, my yacht club duties required that I remain rooted to an NYC support boat. I felt left out of my children's introduction to the sport that had been so important to my own coming of age. And what about me? As the summer passed, the conversation around the dinner table was becoming unendurable. Jenny, how many flags have we won so far? Ethan, 4. Jenny, but they're all blue. Ethan, I know, I'd like a red one. Jenny, or how about a yellow one? Ethan, Mommy, can we come in third next weekend, please? It was clearly time for someone to put my wife and especially my children in their place. By the end of July, I'd come up with Plan Gordon. Gordon was new to the sport. A marathon runner and bike racer, he had purchased a beetle cat only the year before. Although he was obviously in tip-top shape, he lacked the experience to race competitively and was becoming frustrated. He needed some tactical advice and instruction. What he needed, I decided, was me. One Saturday morning, I happened to run into Gordon on the yacht club lawn. It was soon agreed that I would crew for him in the first race after I had assisted my staff in setting up the race course.